Hello again, everyone. In this video, I just wanted to show how you can refresh Streamlit when you're running it in Docker without having to stop it, rebuild it, and bring it back up. I ran into this a month or so ago. It took me a little while to work through, so I thought I'd make a video just in case anyone is in the same boat. Okay, as always, see if I can make this a little bigger. Okay, so I'll post a link down to this repo. This was for LLM Zoom Camp in 2024. So basically it goes out, reads transcripts from a YouTube playlist, chops them up, looks at the timestamps, feeds it to Elasticsearch, then queries Elasticsearch for relevant results based on semantic search, takes all of that, and it goes to OpenAI to generate a good AI answer. If you're interested, the repo's out here. It has a pretty good README and a video walkthrough, but that's an aside. Let's get into refreshing the data. Okay, so this repo is up to date. My local copy is not. There are a few things that are correct here. So I have it running, and if I look at the Streamlit section here, we can see I'm using a bind mount. So it's actually looking here, and we can tell that it's not a Docker volume. It is actually connected to the folder I have locally. So that's where I started thinking, okay, I have my app file here, and let's see. Full disclosure, I'm not a huge fan of Streamlit. I am working on converting this to Flask just because I find it more readable and I'm more comfortable with it. So I was trying to modify some things here and say I want to call it transcript for whatever reason. So hit S for save. So that file should be seen in Docker now. But if we go back to the app and refresh, it's still transcript. So the first thing I did after this was, okay, it needs a special command. I believe it's refresh on save. Let me look at the updated Docker Compose file here. Okay, so run on save true, meaning this file you're running for Streamlit, if you see that it just got saved, go ahead and start it back up so it refreshes. At least that's my understanding. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and Control C, the wrong way to do that. And if I come back in here, I'm just going to add a command section to Streamlit. Not sure the proper place for it, but I think it makes sense there. So I'm going to save it. Go to my Streamlit app Docker file. So dockerfile.streamlit. Sorry for the mess over there. And then I can comment out the CMD, the command that runs in the Docker file, because Docker Compose will take care of running that command. I'm just going to make sure that it is stopped and all that's good. And this time I'll go ahead and do a -D. And sometimes what I like to do, a little tip here, I'll go ahead and open up a terminal and I will just do a watch docker ps That way I can kind of see what's coming up, what's failing, where the ports are forwarded, all that good stuff. Okay, so it looks like it's running okay. So we'll go ahead and refresh. And it does take a moment to come up here. And while that's going, this will not fix it. The last piece I was missing was actually Streamlit server file watcher type poll. I tried to dig into that, and that was a while ago, but if I recall correctly, it has to do with the communication between Docker and the local file system. Somehow, when you save that file local, it says saved, and I don't know if it's the container in Docker doesn't know to say, hey, I'm saved, or if there's a communication piece between Streamlit running in that container that it doesn't see it. And I believe that's where the issue is and how the poll works. Don't quote me on that. Didn't dive too deep, but it did take up a chunk of time. I'm going to go ahead and copy that because we'll add that next. And okay, it is PanScript, but a little bit of cheating. I brought it down, put it back up. And where were we? Ah, yes, app. Well, let's try brand script. And we'll give it a refresh. Okay, no dice. All right, Docker compose down. And we're going to add another environmental variable. The one I just copied from the repo, and again, this is Streamlit app. I guess that's probably big enough. If you're on a smartphone, I'm sorry. But okay, that all looks good. Let's bring it back up. And again, that does take a moment. And again, I'll link this repo in the comments. If you are curious, this was kind of a race to the finish for the deadline for the final project. But if you go here, you will see I do have a Flask version which has all the functionality. I think it's a little better actually. So a little cleaner, a little more transparent on what all the pieces do. So, oh, I will slap an MIT license on there. I don't think I did that yet. Sometimes I forget. And let's see, let's make sure I've got one in here. Ah, yes. There's an MIT license on this one, so if you use it, I give credit where credit is due. I like to be mentioned, but if you forget that, yeah, no worries. Use it, play with it, call it your own. That's how we all learn. Okay, so we got brand script. Why can't I think of another letter? Let's just do a ran script. And Control S to save that. That should have worked. Let me go back here, and I'm just going to check my Docker Compose file. Watcher type is poll. It is running that command. let's see, I had gotten rid of copying the Streamlit app directory. Let me check that. That should not interfere at all. Okay, copy is not there. I'm going to go ahead and bring that down. And let me do a Docker Compose build. Oh, I've got no cache in there. So this is going to take a moment. Let me pause it here, and I'll pick back up after that's done rebuilding. Okay. Now that that's finished, I just ran a Docker Compose up-d. I gave that a moment. We do see our changes reflected, but that's not really too remarkable because, well, we made that change, brought it down, and brought it back up. Uh-oh. You know what? Now that I'm talking, I see that white dot there. That means it wasn't saved. So maybe that was the issue. I was probably in the right area. Loran script. Save. Refresh. Okay. I think the issue was when I added this piece here, I didn't save it. So Docker Compose down. So probably didn't need to rebuild it at all, but who knows? Sometimes you just have to play with it. And we'll do Compose up-d again. And I have heard some people I very much respect say, Streamlit is great, especially with ChatGPT if you just want to make a quick UI. And they just fly with it. Just for some reason, I haven't been able to get comfortable with it. Maybe if I moved a lot of my code into helper files and then imported them, it wouldn't be so busy. But if I have time, I'll play with that another day. And there we go. Okay. Well, I guess I know that got a little confused. Hopefully, I didn't make you cross-eyed. But there were three main things that made this possible. So just to recap what those three things were. The first being in the Docker Compose file. Rather than copying the code to the container, we did a bind mount, meaning I'm working on a file, the container sees that file, my local system sees that file. And we did that here, saying Streamlit app.py. In the container, that's at app.py. The second thing we did was for the command. And you could have done this in the Docker file itself, probably put the command there. I just went ahead and put it here. Run on save is true. And this was the real head scratcher for me and why I made this video, because I didn't find the info anywhere else. Was setting the environmental variable Streamlit server file watcher type to pull. And then that way you can, go in here, ask me a question, and that should not be updated. But then Control S, and there you have it. So if you're developing in Streamlit, hopefully this saves you some time, streamlines your process a little bit, and you don't have to dig through a lot of documentation and things like that like I did. So hopefully you enjoyed, and I'll see you in another video.